Salutations and welcome to the workshed. I'm your host Logan, and like last time, I'm joined by that other guy.
Hello everyone, Mitchell, Sweet Tripod on YouTube. Glad to be here.
Okay, this time around I picked the original Evil Dead Trilogy, so the Evil Dead from 1981, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn from 1987, and Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness from 1992. So, let's just get started with the Evil Dead. Mitchell, you weren't so hot on this one?
So I'll be completely honest, when you said the name of this, I thought it was like the Dawn of the Dead zombie movies or something. So
I
I
was
was very
actually
surprised. Sorry.
I was actually thinking about doing those. Maybe another time.
So I was very surprised by what I got. I feel like I just had to talk about the series overall for 1 second before we get into everything. So this is clearly a passion project of a skilled director who knows a lot about cinematography and really wanted to do a lot with it, as well as practical effects. It's really
Yep.
the all of these things put together. It's the director's dream. Too bad he's crazy and weird
Okay.
and can't write. To be honest, he probably.
Whoa, okay. That's a hot take.
But anyway, we'll get into why. So first
Alright.
movie. What do we want to talk about?
I guess since you're sounding a bit critical, what did you like about The Evil Dead?
The first one.
Yeah.
Well, I really like the practical effects.
Mhm.
Like all the horror effects except for the excessive blood. We'll get into that later, but that's not very good. But all of
Okay.
the different designs for things is really cool. All of the demons and all that stuff. I like how
Yeah.
it's just not a CGI fest like these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. And I read up a little bit about it. This is not normal for me, but I read up. Apparently, it was an independent film, at least the
Mhm.
first one. So it's even more impressive. Um,
Yeah.
I really like the
I
setting. Sorry, you can.
No, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you. You can keep going.
I really like the setting. It's just really pretty. That's not a really great way to say it, but the woods, everything looks really nice. I also don't know if that
Mhm.
had to do with the old cameras they were using. Obviously they
Yeah.
were at the time, but I feel like there's this heavy saturation that looks really good. Um, so yeah, I think
So,
the setting it works quite
yeah.
well.
I
It's
think
it's
with you,
nice to look at, you know.
yeah. You're mentioning the cinematography there. I think I noticed. I mean, there was a lot of moments where the camera was out of focus, but that's a real. I think that's really pedantic
I
criticizing that,
didn't that.
and I actually think it adds to it because the way everything's lit and filmed, it has a really lucid, dreamlike quality to it, and I think that adds to how beautiful everything looks, horrifically beautiful.
Mm. I just noticed that with the cinematography, they just do lots of different kinds of shots with the cars and there's close
Yeah.
up, there's POVs of the monsters. It's very there's just a lot going on. He really thought about each different thing he wanted to do, and I think it works really well in the first movie. Uh,
Hmm.
and then maybe not eventually.
It's actually
Right.
really interesting because every other time I've seen these movies, I was obviously Sam Raimi's crazy with a camera, right? But this was the first time I noticed what you've mentioned, all the way he's using the camera and how every single shot feels very well choreographed. It's
Yeah. It's
something I. Oh, sorry. It's just something I also noticed in something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, which I trust you haven't seen.
no.
Like a lot of these really significant low budget horror movies are very like that, and Halloween, the original Halloween, are really impressive because of the way they light everything and use the camera. It really elevates the material.
Yeah, I do think that that's some of the best qualities of the film. The other thing is the sound design is really
Mm-hmm.
good in the beginning of the film. I think it does peter off a bit later, but
Okay.
there's these creaking effects when the swing is rocking outside the house and it's a
Mm-hmm.
deep thump. There's all kinds of things like that, and then the score at the beginning is really good. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I think the first part of this movie is quite good, but
Yeah.
then it's the build up that I really like. But as soon as we actually get into the bulk of the horror, it kind of starts to lose me the further we go along.
Whereabouts would you say that cutoff is?
I guess I like because at first it is interesting, but I guess it's like after people have been dying for a little while and now they're just
Okay.
fight. Um,
See, that's interesting because I feel I love the build up, and I feel after everyone's dead and it's just Ash by himself, that's when the movie ratchets it up another notch. I feel it gets better after that point. So it's really interesting. You feel it goes downhill.
I mean, I do think that when he is by himself, it like ramps up a little bit, but I don't think it like gets back to where it was originally.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, I don't know. The thing that I appreciate about the way that the story is structured in the first one, because it's lacking so terribly in the second, is that there are all these characters that we get to kill off slowly. So even though there's actually not that much story or plot, it feels like things are going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I th- that's what I was going to talk about the cinematography just a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It really, honestly, kind of feels like an art film or like a that kind of thing. Like it feels like
Yeah.
it doesn't fit in a horror thing that much. Like they use it very well. I'm not saying like the shots like it. It's just
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
doesn't.
I
It
get it.
kind of feels like a disservice to say that it's a horror movie. Like if someone heard that, they wouldn't think like so highly of the cinematography. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I get what you mean. There was
Um.
even I even have in my notes there was one shot especially where Cheryl just runs into the cabin after being um you know what the trees do to her. I'm not going to describe it on YouTube.
Yeah. That's
Um well anyway, I think we'll talk about that in a second, but when she runs into the cabin and she's arguing with everyone, I noticed it was like one continuous shot, which isn't that special in on itself, but the actors are blocked in such a way that they're coordinated with the camera movements, so we're getting different perspectives on the characters as the dynamics of the argument are changing, which is stuff you'd see in like an Ingmar Bergman movie, or like he said, like an art film, like a really precisely filmed movie.
Yeah, that is. I honestly think that like that's probably the strongest part of the entire film. Like, if there's something I'm going to remember, it's probably going to be that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Um, just trying to think if there's anything else like positive to say. Really? Oh, like there's this one effect that I like a lot where it's the girl gets stabbed in the foot and like those little black veins
Oh
go
yeah.
everywhere. That looks
Yeah.
really cool. That's probably my favorite.
Even when she gets stabbed, I think it's Linda that gets stabbed with the pencil. Like that practical effect is brutal.
Yeah, it's. We'll get into the blood. I think that's probably.
I mean, if you want
um,
to, we've already destroyed the structure of the last episode, so if you want to go into the blood, let's just do it.
yeah, okay. I'll get on to these effects that I don't like before talking about anything.
Okay. All right.
Because a lot of this for me is going to be not liking things. So of course, if you have something positive to say about anything,
Almost all of my notes are positive. I love this movie.
that's really weird. I don't like you now. JK, but like, what the flip? Anyway, I'll get.
Get off my podcast. I hate you.
Um, so the blood at first is like a good amount where I'm like, yeah, this is good. This makes sense. And I know this might be the point, but it kind of gets to a point where it's obsessive and like way too much all the time. Not
All
even when
right.
like the house is like flooding in the basement. It's just like when people get hurt, there's like way too much blood. And I think that desensitized me eventually, where I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. Takes you out of it a bit. Like I know it's
All
like
right.
natural, but it to me anyway, it feels ridiculous. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's Sam Raimi's style. So if you don't mesh with that, then all of these movies are going to piss you off.
Oh my god, this is just how I talked about the second Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
It's just the style. Uh, yeah.
Do you- So that's basically it. What
I
about the
mean,
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
oh no, I wasn't. There's not really much more to say. It's just like I just think it's too much, and Also, sometimes it looks really good, but then I feel like some other times it looks worse, like less realistic.
Okay. I can't say I thought that was a huge problem in this movie. I can see that argument being valid in Evil Dead 2, but I don't know, it didn't really occur to me it was that over the... I mean, it's over the top, but I didn't think it was egregious. I thought it
Hmm.
worked.
Okay.
What
The other
about
thing.
the...
No, you go.
just a bit with the effects, the like the stop motion at the end when the deadites are decaying. Uh,
Yeah, it's
that
really cool. I don't know what else to say. Like,
yeah, okay.
yeah, it's good. I liked it. Oh, I thought that scene was a bit weird because then like what it comes back for a second or like another one does it. It like goes on a bit too long. But besides that, it's like
Yeah,
looks really good.
yeah.
What I was gonna say was about sound because I was praising how good the sound was at the beginning. Like honestly, it kind of felt almost like an audio horror, which is like my favorite kind of thing. There's even
Hmm.
like the guy, the I don't know, archaeologist talking about like where he got it and everything. And
Yeah.
there's all this like sound design and the scores all been really good suspense building. And then everyone screams way too much throughout the whole movie. Now, this might just be like a me thing because I know not everyone is like freaked out by sounds, but to me, eventually, again, it just got more annoying than like scary or even me caring about the characters. It's just like a lot of things that took me out of this film, if that makes sense.
Okay, that's
Like,
really
I get
interesting.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, I get that they're all in mortal danger and stuff, but eventually, I think it just gets obnoxious, kind of like the blood. I don't know.
Okay, um, I don't really know how to respond to that. I can't say it really bothered me.
Hmm.
Awkward pause.
Yeah, I don't know. It
I
just
don't.
feels like impersonal. Eventually, like I don't even care for the safe because there's been so many screams. It's just like, why should I care about this one? You know what I mean?
Okay. Again, I can't really respond to this. This is a very weird criticism.
That might just be like the type of horror that I like, though. I think.
Yeah,
I think that's
it's
more.
just a really weird preference you have, but it's okay. I accept you.
No, I feel really gaslit by the reviews of these movies. Um,
Okay.
80 on Rotten Tomatoes is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh man, you're not gonna like my rating. Jesus.
Oh no. Is there anything that you want to talk about, like particularly in order?
Okay, how about we'll try go back into the lists of. It sounds like you've probably exhausted most of your notes already.
I've got some plot stuff that I haven't really read
Yeah, okay,
over.
let's just go through writing then.
Okay, so things like acting and that kind of thing was good throughout. Have no
Mm-hmm.
complaints. When it
Yeah.
comes to characters, sorry, this is pretty normal stock standard for horror films, but they aren't really characters. A lot of the people, that's because they're gonna die in like 10 minutes. But
Yeah.
I didn't really appreciate that much. But that's just like a me thing. It was hard to tell people apart. I'm glad that Ash is the main character for the whole rest of it because I wouldn't have known who he was otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
It's
felt
actually
like their
Sorry.
dynamic, the whole dynamic of the group was like really hard to
Yeah.
untangle. There was like a guy who was mean a lot.
Yeah.
There was like the girl that gets freaked out at the very beginning, and that's like a whole thing. The tree
Yeah.
girl. And then there's Linda. This like, yeah, I don't know. Character wise, it was just like, which I guess is normal, but
Yeah.
the one thing I appreciated was Ash and Linda, and especially how he was after she was dead was like good.
Yeah. Uh, well, I mean, I have 2 points to make there. First of all, yeah, I mean, it's fine in this case, especially that the characters are really flat. As we get on in the franchise, it's definitely a huge problem. But because the story is so simple and we're just focused on the concept and the experience, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Like you
I
said.
would, I would agree. It's just like if it was me doing it, I probably would have worked on that part of the script a little
Oh
more.
yeah, yeah. But it doesn't hamper the experience at all, really.
Yeah, I would probably agree. Um,
But I gotta say, it's really interesting that Ash becomes the protagonist of this franchise, because he doesn't seem that special in
Yeah,
this movie. It's not until he's by himself, and even then, he doesn't do that much
yeah,
to prove himself as a protagonist. It's really interesting how he's spun in the second movie.
yeah, and then it's really interesting how he's spun in the third movie. Interesting.
Oh, oh
Interesting.
no.
Is that the one you don't like, or do you like that one too? Do
Oh,
you like all three?
I have really weird feelings about Army of Darkness. I feel like
Okay.
we'll probably discuss that one the most.
Yeah.
I've got a bit to say about that one.
Um, so like this is the weird thing where it is like pretty common in horror to mix sexual stuff in for some reason. I'm not
Hmm.
going to go into detail, obviously, but the tree scene, I don't
The
know
tree
why Sam
scene.
Raimi
Uh,
added that in, or what the
I
point
think
was,
I
or what
think
he was trying to
he's
say by that.
I think he's said recently he really regrets doing that. I think he was he was for 20 something. He was trying to be edgy. It's like his first horror movie.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it
Mm.
doesn't mean anything. It's
But
stupid.
did you give me the wrong, is this the real version of the movie, or am I going to watch something else? You know?
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
um,
I gotta say about writing. I have a couple criticisms. Nothing that major, but the scene where Ash gives Linda the necklace. That's I noted that one was extremely abruptly dropped in. Like they just had to put it somewhere, and they didn't build up to it
yeah,
organically.
I kind of feel that. I mean, I don't remember it being like that, but like thinking back, that is a very abrupt memory out of all of them. So it
Yeah.
does feel like that.
And the fact they destroy the book at the end, it's not a Deus Ex Machina, because that's not the definition. I don't even know why I wrote that, but it just comes out of nowhere. But there's no reason for him to burn the book, because there's no indication.
That's what
They
would
didn't even read the
help.
book, so that
Yeah,
doesn't really make any sense. But it's by that point of the movie, you won't even if it's your first time, you're not even really thinking about that.
yeah. Let's be real. The lore of the book gets dumber every time, so we'll just appreciate what
Yeah,
it's like in this one.
yeah.
You know, like it's
Um,
actually scary, at least a little bit
but
anyway. I don't
but I
think I ever.
have to say, oh sorry.
I was gonna say one thing is I don't think I ever actually got scared. There was maybe like one or two jump scares that kind of
No,
got me, which is funny because that's cheap. But you know,
yeah. I'd say a real strong suit for the writing. I noticed it's not like 4D chess levels of setup and payoff, but it has some really good setups and payoffs, really subtle ones that gives the story a further sense of uh, a lot of planning, a lot of forethought.
yeah. Mm. Like, yeah, no, I know what you mean. There's a lot of stuff with like the setup of the house, like what it looks like, the areas and stuff. You know, there's like in the same scene where they get the book, they also find the gun, and there's stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You probably can think of some more examples, but I do know what you.
Uh, a really obvious stuff like they mention, like an offhand remark at the start of the movie that the car's a piece of crap, and
Right?
then
Yeah, yeah,
for parts it doesn't work, or the bridge is collapsing, and then the
yeah,
uh, the Evil Dead destroys the bridge.
yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
said, nothing that sophisticated, but it gives a sense of
Yeah,
thought.
yeah. I can see that. That is a good aspect. It's good. I feel like you can get me to appreciate some of the stuff. I think I'm still gonna not like it though, but you know,
Yeah, I got.
this is my
Yeah, I
most
don't.
favorite one. As soon as we get to the next one, I lose all reverence, pretty much.
Oh my god, it's
Like
gonna
I,
be a terrible episode.
oh yeah, and I read on Wikipedia that apparently the second one is regarded as better on average or something.
Yeah, I do have something to
That's
say about that. My
crazy.
feelings have changed there.
Oh, do you mean later? I was gonna let you say it.
Oh no, so no, yeah, later.
Okay. For other things with the plot, um, I would say that I've got noted here that maybe it was just shock and stuff, but I think it's when the first person dies or something. They want to bury people, basically, and they
Yeah.
can't wait till morning to bury them. And I
Hmm.
thought that although that's technically plausible, as in someone may try to do it, I thought it was pretty lazy writing to just like get the people outside, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, I can tell what you're doing That doesn't feel real, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I have this thing where if I can tell that it's like an easy thing to write, then I'll be like, yeah, that doesn't, like, it takes me out of it because I can see them writing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, there's so many awkward pauses. This is terrible.
Uh, I don't know, it's kind of hard when we have like the exact opposite opinion. There's not much to say unless you actually
I
have a
know,
really
and neither of us are really convicted enough to start getting stuck into each other. So we're not going to have a screaming match.
uh I I think if I started reading all the reviews and stuff and just looking at its critical acclaim or something, I would get really annoyed and then I might actually get angry, but I've chose to ignore how popular this is, or at least how
Okay.
well liked it is, because I don't understand.
So
But yeah.
basically, your perspective on it is that it's just a generic horror movie with some good cinematography.
Yeah,
Have I got
like
that?
he did a really good job with the cinematography, but for the rest of it, it's kind of just a movie. So
Okay.
it's not particularly strong for me,
It
but
look it
yeah.
that could be because like this movie created the cabin in the woods format. It was
Oh, really? It's
it
that one. Wow. I didn't
yeah.
know that.
So basically, it was super influential in inspiring what we have in horror today. So it could just be that everything you've seen has just exhausted what this movie did first.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So like it's not as strong in retrospect.
Yeah, I guess I would probably say that makes sense. Oh God, I hate having notes in here that I don't remember what it even is, so I have to skip it. I'll just go to the next thing. There's like a scene where I think it's Linda, I think, but one of the girls is just like sitting there laughing. Maybe they're trying to antagonize him, but like like they could just kill Ash right then and there. Like she's not even trying to kill him.
Yeah,
He's alone at that point in the movie with like very little stuff from what I remember. Like he's not in a good position yet. We just got back from trying to save the other guy. Like she should have killed him then and there, but it just doesn't because plot,
yeah.
or maybe it's supposed to
Look,
be
the
freaking him out. But like I
I
don't.
think the biggest problem with the Evil Dead franchise is that I don't think we fully understand how the Deadites work, like what they need to do to possess someone.
Yeah,
Like
well, I
either
thought it was an
they need
attack,
to,
but sometimes I don't think they were attacked at all. You
yeah.
know what I
So
mean?
either you're attacked and then they possess you, or you're dead and they possessed you, or maybe you just have to they have to break you down mentally to get into your head because that happens to Ash in the second movie.
Right. Okay. Um. Oh, right. There's this one scene where he's like where the demon version of Linda is fighting Ash.
Hmm.
And he like impales her on something, but the cinematography looks so bad. I genuinely don't know how he did it.
Oh, cuts her head off with the shovel. You mean?
No. It's like she gets impaled, and then he like
Oh
tries to
no,
bury.
that's Shelley.
Oh,
Shelley
that's
gets
yeah.
stabbed with
Okay.
the dagger.
Yeah, that scene like just didn't make sense to me. I like watched it, and I think I rewatched it, and I don't understand how they got from where they were to being on the like getting killed. You know what I mean? That
Oh,
might be a me thing. I don't know. It just looked really
hold up,
weird.
because I think there's two stabbings with the dagger. Is it the one where he pushes her over and it goes through her back?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see what you mean.
And it's weird for a guy who's been so good at cinematography, but it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's interesting to note that the filming of this movie stretched over several years, and by the end, they had rebuilt the cabin inside the director's garage, and they were just filming with random actors who they smothered in makeup, like just to get it done.
Oh,
So
really?
it's possible by the end there they were kind of just
Just
slapping it together to
yeah.
get it done.
Yeah. Oh, right. So you know when there's that demon that's in the basement?
Yeah,
They really should have put something over that. Like anyone with a brain would have put like a cabinet on
yeah,
over the hole, and that would literally stop one of like the main people getting killed because they grab onto the leg of someone and then the other one attacks. Like You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Oh, and then she breaks it near the end. Like, she breaks through. And
Hmm.
it's like, why didn't she do that any other point? Because it's not like she seemed like she had a plan. She seemed like she was trying the whole time. Like, maybe she
Yeah.
got stronger for some reason, but it's really not like... There's not really, like, much explanation.
No, I
Uh,
think again, kind of messy. Like I think by the end of the franchise, it's pretty well confirmed the Deadites have above human strength.
yeah.
So it's very possible she could have broken through. Then she was just, I don't know, chilling out for no reason. You could just say, maybe the Evil Dead was so cocky, felt it didn't have to break through.
Who knows? Who knows? It's just like one of those things. So I was like, oh yeah, they
Yeah,
popped someone's eyes at one point. This is like, and it looked really
yeah.
like cringe. That's a really bad way to describe it, but it was just like
You mean
blood
like too
flow.
much gore?
No, the opposite. There was just blood flow. There was no noise really. Like eyes are like full of stuff. They're actually really hard. Like there should have been
Yeah.
like whites coming out and like the like a crunch, and then it's like blood and water kind of because it's like I'm not but like the mucus or
Yeah, I
whatever
know
it,
what you
like
mean.
it
But at
flows
the
and
same but at the same time, one of the Deadites squirts milk everywhere after they get killed.
yeah, I forgot all about that. That was weird as well. I just thought that was a missed opportunity. Like eye horror is one of the good ones to go for because
Yeah,
people like
yeah,
look at the screen and then they think about their eyeballs.
yeah.
But that yeah, missed opportunity. I don't know if there's anything else to say except for when he gets killed or attacked, not killed, like he gets attacked at the end of the movie. I don't really get why that even happened. Like I get that. I guess I get it. It's just like really weird because obviously burning the book didn't stop it. But it's kind of
Yeah.
like a weird move to do at the end of the movie to just like attack it. Like it came out of nowhere. And I was just like, why? You
Well,
know?
I mean, you got to set up for a sequel, man, and a jump. You got to have a jump scare
Oh, I
ending.
forgot to mention this. So I felt like, and this gets way worse in like the third one.
Yeah.
But the dialogue sometimes was kind of just like awkward and clunky.
Yes,
And I
I do
don't
have a
know.
note of that. But I said in this case it works because it adds to like the amateur cheap feeling of it. Because like it didn't bug me that much because the whole movie is obviously pretty cheap. So it adds to the charm. I guess I watch a lot of B movies, so I'm used to this stuff. So that sort of clunky, awkward dialogue doesn't really bother me anymore. I guess you're not haven't been that exposed to that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the other thing is I might have taken it a bit too serious, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Which I think has maybe ruined it for me a little bit. Although I would say, for all its faults, what I really liked about this one in retrospect after watching the third is, although there's some weird stuff going on, and like with the blood, I think it's too much. The characterization, I think, is pretty down to earth.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it's pretty
yeah.
grounded, and that's what I think kind of makes the third one really bad. Is there
Hmm.
anything else you want to talk about in the first
No,
one?
I just
Basically,
had. Uh, I thought it was funny how Ash slaps Scotty in the face while he's dying. That was
oh, I
awesome.
forgot to talk about that. Yeah. I thought it like was silly, but I'm glad you liked it.
Oh no, I thought it was funny.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it just looks
Yeah,
really bad. They also shake him. That's what that note I couldn't understand was.
yeah.
It said something about shaking. Yeah. Not.
Um, I
Uh,
have. I know you probably won't care about this, but for the 0 people who are listening right now, here's a fun fact. Um, in the basement, there's a torn up Hills Have Eyes poster, which is a film by Wes Craven, who's another famous horror director from the era. He did Nightmare on Elm Street, 13 years later. Um, the torn up poster was a message from Sam Raimi to Craven saying, "We've done horror better than you." And
whoa.
then, and then in A Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven has The Evil Dead playing on a TV while Johnny Depp is falling asleep, as a message to Sam Raimi that your movie's just stupid soap opera horror. This is real horror.
I
And
mean,
then And then in Evil Dead 2, Sam Raimi puts a Freddy Krueger glove in the background, like just a blurred little object in the background to try and get back at Wes Craven.
Wow.
So that's funny little details. Now you know.
That's... I mean, from what I remember about looking into Nightmare on Elm Street, isn't there like a one where Freddy Krueger rips someone through like a wooden door, but it's like the tiniest part of the blue wooden door? I don't know if maybe he didn't direct that one. It's like one of the... I think it's the third one or something.
Oh no, Wes Craven only directed, I think it was 1 and 3, and maybe 4.
Okay, well, I won't
My memory's
blame
not
him.
so strong on that. Oh, and New Nightmare.
Maybe he's really good, but I don't know.
Oh, no, Wes Craven's pretty great.
I don't know if Nightmare on Elm Street...
We might do Nightmare... We'll definitely do Nightmare on Elm Street at some point in the future.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, I have one more note on the score. I noticed there are a couple moments where the electronic elements aren't blending that well with the strings, but generally when the electronics are used to add to intensity and just really subtle stings, it works really well. But other than that, like you said, the score's great. And that's it.
Okay, number 2, The Evil Dead 2.
Okay, now, I think this time we kind of stuffed that one up. Let's try and stick, like we did last episode, to the notes, to the order of stuff.
Right, yeah, okay.
Okay.
What do we want to do first?
What are you really burning to complain about?
This whole film is really boring. I sound like a
okay.
brain rot.
So just go writing?
TikTok person, but so it's just like, you know how I was talking about how they have enough characters so when some people die it's like interesting, and then they do that and then more people die, so it's like stuff is actually going on. With this one, it felt like, so yeah, this is a horror movie where nothing happens except for the scares, huh? Like, it's just, I felt like the whole film was just like an add-on bit to the first, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think my main criticism about the entire film is that this one felt much less like a movie and more like a sequence of, I want to do this horror thing, this would make a cool scene.
Yeah.
Like the idea of a movie and a plot and a story is so thinly veiled that I can like see through to the notes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just felt like this was way less entertaining or interesting to watch.
I felt really strange watching this one because I used to place Evil Dead 2 right at the top, but I think it could just be because I watched all 3 of these movies back to back, and coming off the Evil Dead straight into Evil Dead 2, there's a huge difference in tone and writing. Like, they're not... Other than the camera stuff, you could say it was largely different crew. There's a lot of stylistic differences there, and I think if you watch this movie on its own, it works quite well. But when you're comparing it to the first one, it does kind of fall apart, and I feel weird saying that.
Well, I watched the first 2 at back to back as well, and then it was the last one that I did later because I burnt out. But what was I... Alright, so I'm just going to get this out of the way. Ambition is a good thing, but not when your special effects look terrible. Which... Not every special effect looked bad. You know, the makeup stuff is still good. But, in fact, there's some pretty good stuff in here. But the opening thing, where he gets launched into the trees...
Oh, yeah.
Looks like a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah. I'd say that's the only really weak special effect in the movie, though.
Well, don't lie, the vortex at the end also looks bad. Come on.
No, it's not perfect. I didn't have any problems with it, though.
Okay. I just thought that was like, whoa, okay. Also, I guess, yeah, if we're doing plot, yeah, the fact that he randomly turns into, and yeah, you said that it's probably about mental stuff, but yeah, he turns into a demon at night or something, like, it's weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then also they drop that in it's the third one as well. I noticed. I just thought, like, it's somewhat interesting, but it's, like, so poorly explained, because obviously in a horror movie, over-explaining things is a bad idea, because then it's no longer scary. You know what I mean? But I felt like I was just confused. You know what I mean? I'm just like, okay, I guess this is happening. Like it never slowed down, and like tried to like make that work. I don't think we just like went on with doing it, and then that was the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say is this one feels much more forgettable because although I've forgotten a lot about both, I feel like I remember even less about this one. So it didn't really stick with me as much.
This is that's really interesting because Evil Dead 2 is very iconic.
Yeah, you see, I don't know. It just this is that thing. I think I've talked to you about this in person, but not on the podcast before. So I'll just talk about it for a second. I don't think I like films that are like, yeah, everyone likes this. You're supposed to like this, and that's not me like trying to be pretentious. It's just like for some reason, a lot of the time, I just don't see like the quality that everyone else sees. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Especially when I already know it's supposed to be like that, but with this one I didn't know, so it wasn't as bad. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like a really big disconnect when it comes to like that kind of thing, and that's the same here. I just don't get the hype on this one. You know what I mean?
Okay. I feel like I don't actually know how to justify myself on this one. I feel like the strength of Evil Dead 2 is, like you said, it's basically just a lot of vignettes, but I try to hook us back into writing. I feel like all of the stuff that happens with Bruce Campbell in the cabin, you obviously take issue with that, but I think it all holds up really well, and I think it's all very enjoyable, and it's generally a good mix of slapstick and psychological horror, though the horror is admittedly a bit weak relative to what we might expect from that genre.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, I only started looking stuff up about this after I finished the second, so the fact that it was supposed to be funny, well, funnier than the first one, like, I did not pick up on that at all. It's like, one of the demons does like a middle finger, and he gets hit in, like, sillier ways, but I really did not think it was, like, funny in any stretch of the imagination. But to be fair, the third one's supposed to be a full comedy, and I also didn't find it funny. So.
Oh no, I agree with you on that one, but I don't know. I think this movie's pretty obviously meant to be very slapstick, especially. I think it's pretty obvious.
Maybe that's part of why I felt it was like kind of like directionless, is because it was focusing on laughs, but I just didn't get it. You know what I mean? I'm not sure.
Okay, that's interesting. A note I have about the writing is first time I've really noticed that when we cut back to the stuff from Ash in the cabin to the stuff that Annie and Ed are doing before they reach the cabin, it actually kills the flow of the movie for me because I enjoy all the stuff that's happening in the cabin. So I found this time around, whenever we were cutting away from that, I was really deflated, like, can we just get back to that? Because I didn't care about these other characters.
Yeah, okay. That's I could agree. I think the other characters are also another problem, because the original ones weren't very interesting, but these ones don't even have, like, I didn't think they had anything interesting to them. They felt less like normal people, like the first one, and more like just like props, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just to talk about the structure, I really hate how we go from them explaining the... Like, I do like that opening sequence they have, but when we're talking about the actual film, when they go from, oh, I'm Ash and I'm going to the house, and then they go back to him being all, like... Sorry, that's a really bad way of explaining things. Basically, they go back and forth at the beginning, right? Like, originally it's from the end of the first movie, but then they do a flashback thing, and then they go back again, and I'm like, what was the point of that? You know what I mean? I've never liked when things do that, when they flash back at the beginning of something.
Okay, so the point of the flashback was that Sam Raimi sold the rights to the Evil Dead when it was being distributed back in the day. So he didn't actually have the rights to any of the footage from that first movie. So
is that why that bit's so confusing? Okay.
Yes.
Because that genuinely confused me. I'll get into it in a second.
Yeah.
That's like a
So,
big thing I had about this movie.
and again, a similar thing happens in Army of Darkness, but A, they had to explain it to audience members who hadn't seen the first one, and B, they had to try and bridge the gap between these two movies without using any of the material from the first movie. So it's really messy.
Okay, so the thing is, and this is probably just my dumb brain, but I really thought because there was no other people in that flashback that he had actually brought a different girl there, and now
Yeah.
like trying to kill her, and it's like he's part of the evil stuff, and then it just switches back, and I kind of just in my brain accepted that's not what happened, but that's the only thing that made sense to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You can very easily stitch all three movies together. You just have to crop off. You just have to ignore those recaps.
Yeah. So that was like was it I don't know if it really like permanently worsens your experience, but it just like it had me thinking about that for like way longer than I should have been while watching the movie, if that makes sense. Like that was the thing that was stuck in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually have very few notes for writing here. There's not a lot to say.
Yeah. Oh, I hate the hillbilly and how he goes out there and how the girl runs into the woods. I thought that was really lazy. Just like he always has to get someone to go outside, but there's never a good reason to go outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I have noted here, what's his name? Jake knew that the trail was covered over because he discovered that himself. So he takes Ash and Annie out there to try and find the trail, even though he knows it's closed off. Now, you could say he's in shock and he's not thinking straight, but that felt a bit convenient as well.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I always think about when people say, like, wave off kind of, like, writing inconsistencies or things that don't make much sense for a character to do, is they make a good defense, which is that you're thinking about it critically and rationally, but in real life you'd have all these complex emotions about it, right? But then the way that I think about it is that the writer also had critical thought. I think you can have it so that someone is emotional, but also that it makes sense for someone to do. And I think this kind of pushes that. Like, I think it's more unrealistic than it is shock, if that makes sense.
The problem is, it's okay to do that generally if a few of your characters act like you show them to be very impulsive and highly strung, very emotionally driven. But really, Ash is the only character who doesn't act totally irrationally in this movie, and it does get a bit grating because every character acts very similarly to every situation.
Yeah.
The next one on my list is acting. Not a ton to say here. Bruce Campbell is great. He is God, and everyone else is fine.
I have one note: not as good as the original, and that's all I wrote.
Acting overall.
Acting overall, yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Bruce Campbell, who plays Ash? Between the two movies.
Wait, is it a different one in the third?
No, same guy.
Okay, I was really confused for a second. So he kind of gives, like, Joey Tribbiani from Friends. They build him up to be, like, this kind of, like, main character thing, but he's, like, really lame.
Okay.
But the thing is, I genuinely feel for him in the first one because of his emotional connection to Linda. Like, he's sad about that kind of thing, and I like it. And then in the second, he's surviving, which I think is interesting. But then, and we'll get into that later, by the third, I'm just completely done with this character. Like, as a character, he's pretty good. I feel like they toe the line with making him a bit too, like, action hero-y in the second, and then it falls off really bad in the third.
I don't know where I'm going to bring this up to you, but there is actually a TV series on Netflix.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, 3 seasons, and it's actually awesome. Now, what they do is... it would probably be better to bring this up for Army of Darkness, but I've already started, so I may as well do it. It actually perfectly bridges the slapstick comedy of the third movie with the over-the-top gory horror of the second, I think. And other than the second season, which is a little bit bloated around the middle, it's actually really enjoyable. And they play with Ash's character perfectly because by that point, they fully accepted he's in that role of like a real douchebag, like a real egotistical douchebag. And it's just like
Yeah.
they've got his character down perfectly. It's
Okay.
not as grating as in Army of Darkness, so I don't
Interesting.
know if you're interested, but it's there.
Okay. For plot, there's not really much else except I like when the girl stabs the like she
Jake?
thinks that it yeah. When she
Yeah.
thinks like some demon, but it's just a guy and she just fucked
Yeah.
up. That's actually a good twist that I liked.
Hmm.
That's all I really have for like the overall like plot and writing.
Yeah. I think by you're saying that actually brought something to mind, but because the characters are so flat in this movie, something like that doesn't do anything to change the dynamics of the story at all,
Yeah, no,
and
it's
that
just
could
like
have
a
been
cheap
interesting.
thrill. But
I
yeah, it
don't
would
know,
have been.
you could make the same argument as in the first movie, where there's so much stuff going on that the characters aren't that important, but
I feel
I
like
don't
there's
know.
nothing going on in this one, so like the
Yeah,
character should be important, and they kind of do that with Ash, which is like the one part I like is that he's like this solo man going through it, and it's like just like this big continuous slog. It's like fun on a
yeah,
character level. I think watching it kind of got a bit boring after the seventh time he fights demons off. You know what I mean?
okay.
So like that was. I feel like this one could have been shorter out of all of them. You know what I mean?
Mm, I mean, they're all
They're
okay.
not very
I think
they're not very long. I will
no.
granted they're not very long. Maybe it just needed more variety because they put all of the different scenes at the beginning, like with the people going, and then it's just like this constant thing of fighting people off. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I can see that. I think your point of it working better as a part two, or just like a tail end of the first movie, makes a bit more sense.
Mm. Um. Okay. What is like the next kind of thing that you want to talk about?
Uh, I know cinematography and visuals.
So the thing about the cinematography and visuals is, I feel like they were basically as good as, well, some of it was as good as the first, and then there was just more boring cinematography overall.
Yeah,
Like, still some really good shots, but like the thing is that there was less of them, and what I
yeah.
think was put in the rest of it wasn't anywhere near as like interesting to watch.
I did note that I didn't mention it when we were just discussing the last one, but the last movie is very dark and it uses its lighting very sparingly and very well to build a lot of atmosphere.
Oh, I just forgot to
In
say that as well. Sorry. The first movie it's like dark, but you can actually see, which no new movie has ever done.
yes,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, yeah, and I know there's some tech reason for that that the like they can't be bothered fixing because it's just
No,
like,
it nowadays it's because the darker it is, the harder it is to see the crappy CGI, so you don't need to put as much effort into it.
that's really sad.
Yeah.
Uh,
It'd
but
be
I really
significantly
appreciate
cheaper just to do it practically and light it properly, but let's just not pay our CG
it.
artists to do a
Oh, that
half-baked
reminds me.
job.
Deep Cut. There was that the the Thing remake that they were doing, not like the Marvel
Yeah,
thing, thing, and it was going to
yeah,
be practical, and it looked really cool. I
yes,
watched a video on that a while ago.
yeah.
And they didn't do it. Well, they
Oh
did.
no.
They CGI'd it, and it looked like shit.
You know what? We gotta do the Thing franchise as well at some point. That movie's awesome. Have you seen the Thing?
No,
Oh my
unfortunately,
god.
I like live off clips
No.
of movies instead of actually watching things. It's not good.
Anyway, oh my god, you distracted me. No. Oh, okay, no, it's alright. Um, this movie is significantly brighter and it loses a lot of the atmosphere that it could have had otherwise. It's not an especially horror dense movie anyway, but if it had some more visual atmosphere, I mean, that could have improved the experience by a degree.
Yeah.
I also noticed there were a lot more, it looked to me like a lot more wide angle lenses, which killed the sense of confinement which the original movie had. So
Yeah.
basically now, like you said, this movie stripped away all the visual atmosphere in exchange for some good angles and camera movements, but a lot of flat shots.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's my main problem with the movie, I think, is that the most interesting parts of the first was the cinematography and the practical effects. But you either
Yeah.
get sick of the good aspects or there's less of them in the second one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There
That
were only a
sounds like
couple.
sorry. I was just gonna say that sounds like really like pretentious, but it's just like I was talking about in the Kingsman one. No matter how good you do something, I think if it's the only thing or one of the only things you do well, you people get bored of it pretty quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. There were only a couple moments of really, really good visuals and lighting here, like when he covers the light bulb in blood, with blood in the shed, and everything goes red. That was
Yeah.
interesting. Or at one point, a lantern goes out in the cabin, and they're in darkness, and there's just the moonlight, which is perfect. Um, Another criticism I didn't mention, but same with everything being bright. Even the forest, it's like
Yeah.
maybe like dusk.
Right the first time. Yeah.
Oh no, just even at nighttime, it's way too brightly lit.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the first one teetered on using I think, a little too much light at night, but then the second one definitely goes a bit over.
No, I didn't. I think the first one did it perfectly. It was just gloomy enough, so like you
Yeah,
could still see what was going
I don't
on.
think it's
But
actually bad. I was just
oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
that's probably a limitation. Like I feel like if they did it now, then that wouldn't have been a problem. Because that's the only thing is because they're old as well. It's like easier to tell when things are like, um, like what they did basically on a
yeah,
practical, level, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Like you can tell that the smoke machines are going, even though it looks really cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell they're smoke machines.
In the first movie.
Yeah, in the first. I
Oh
think they
yeah,
do it a bit
those.
in the second as well, but yeah.
I hope those smoke machines got double pay. They were working overtime in that movie.
Uh,
Uh, the rest of my notes are just miscellaneous stuff.
okay,
If you've got anything
I've
else.
just got some things where it's like, although I was saying how the overall film like suffers because they focus on the individual scares so much, I did think there were some pretty good things going on. Like there's that like dancing skeleton
Yeah,
that was really good, you
yeah,
know? There's like the when Ash looks through the mirror and then gets choked by himself and that kind
hmm
of thing. His
yeah,
hand. That was like some good body horror.
yeah,
You know, there's that scene where like everyone's laughing. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then
Those
when
are. Sorry.
no, there's just one more thing. It was that the when the demon pretends to be like the girl's mother. That
Yeah.
was good too, and the way that comes back later, where she like that part, like when she sings the song, that part I have mixed feelings. It's like it's clever, but it's also stupid because why does the demon care at all? Are you insinuating there's bits of souls in there? It's weird implications. You know what I mean?
No, I think the implication is the demons still have access to everything in the body, and they're just using it to try and get to people. Why they have to get to people?
Is like
I assume just to kill them. I don't know. Don't think about it.
yeah. Oh no, I meant like why did the demon even care that she was singing the song? Because she does get distracted from it. You know what I mean?
Oh, oh, sorry, I forgot about that.
Maybe
Yeah.
the noise, but it seemed like she like it actually like
No, yeah, you're right.
I don't like yeah, I don't know.
I don't. Oh god, I'm really stretching my memory here. I don't think that's ever happened before. Yeah, I don't know. That's really weird. Again, don't think about it.
Yeah. I think that kind of is like one like thing that's like hard about movies where you have to have like a level of mystery to things because I like explanations of things.
Yeah.
Uh, you know what I mean? The more I understand. So I've just got miscellaneous stuff too now. So I've just got like a
hmm
very few.
Yeah.
So I actually like the book intro in the second one. I think that it worked pretty cool, pretty well. It looked
Yeah.
cool. I liked it. Third one, ugh. There's one scene where like the stuff that shoots out of the one of the demons was green instead of red or black, because you
Yeah,
in the first one there's like that's the two things it can be, is it can be red or it can be black. It's
or
random,
milk.
yeah, or milk. Um, but then it's just green in like one scene,
Yeah.
and there was nothing. I don't think that insinuated that there'd be a reason for such a thing. It almost made me think that they censored one scene, but that doesn't make any sense.
No, I
You know
don't
what
think so.
I mean? Yeah. What else is there? Thought some of the fight scenes just like they looked a bit weird. This is probably because they're actually trying to be funny, but to me, I thought they were like it took some of the seriousness out of it. They were like just fighting in really cartoonish ways, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, and
Do you
I
mean the final, like the fight with Henrietta at the end?
I genuinely don't remember anymore.
Okay.
It's just the vibe I have in my memory
I mean,
of
that
it.
one was awkward because that creature was, stop motion and it was
Right,
probably
yeah,
matted in.
that makes sense. I already said the vortex looked bad. That's my miscellaneous thing. Oh,
Yeah.
and the night costumes in this one look really shit at the end. Like they look
Okay.
really bad, and they obviously switched them out in the third one because they look better. But I thought
Hmm.
they looked very bad.
Okay. That's
Okay.
all for yours?
Yep.
Okay. I've got the movie had a couple really bad instances of dubbing. So where I made a joke of this in the intro where Ash just says workshed out of nowhere, which has become a joke in the community, I think. And uh, I do also have Drina fight with his hand. He's dubbed over even though his mouth's not moving. I don't remember that, but obviously that happened too.
Mm.
And at one point when Ed is possessed, you can see his suspension wire,
Oh,
which is a bit of an oops.
luckily I did not.
And there was one scene where I mean you. I'm surprised you didn't mention this, saying how much you like sound horror. I don't know if this is really sound horror though, where all the characters are standing in the cabin and there are knocking sounds in every direction.
I must not
Something
have picked up on that because I don't know what you're talking about.
okay, something cool. This is a real pet peeve of mine when movies don't use the audio channels correctly. Here, the sounds were distributed across the channels depending on where the characters were looking, and it was really awesome. And I love it when people do that. Like audio technicians just distribute the sound across the channels. What are you doing? Yeah, that was it. And the score was good. I think we could probably agree on that.
I don't. I think for the second one, I didn't remember it being very particularly anything. Uh,
I
it
mean,
might
it's
have
not as
it might have been a bit
not
more
as
subtle. I don't know.
yeah,
That's
not as noticeable, but it's still pretty good.
one thing I noticed is like a little joke is that when they put the hand in the bucket, like
A
trap it.
farewell to arms.
Yeah, that's a good joke. I think that
Yeah.
was the only joke I appreciated. Um, but then of course they ruin it by having the hand just escape at one point, and that being really
Yeah.
confusing because they don't physically show it happen. He just like
Hmm.
appears. I didn't. Uh,
Yeah.
but that's it for that's the whole thing for the second one,
All
which
right.
feels really blasphemous. It sounds like people care about these movies, and I'm just saying
Yeah. I
shit.
feel I felt really weird watching these movies because I couldn't like compared to the Kingsman movies. I have basically no notes, and I don't really know how
Yeah,
to
I have a lot
talk
less
about
notes too.
I feel like I guess I just appreciate these movies more on a I don't know, like a level of recognition for how significant they are and just plain enjoyment.
Yeah. It feels very much like I'm on the exact opposite side of a creative team that would like this because it is so much into cinematography and practical effects, and I appreciate all those things, but I really am a writer at heart, and I really
Yeah,
appreciate dynamics and all that
yeah,
kind of thing. It's the most important part of anything to me, so I think
yeah.
that's probably the issue. That's
I
probably
would
why I don't
say,
watch much horror in general.
yeah, I would say I'm a really heavy writing person too, but I can switch my brain off and just enjoy things like this for what they present more tangibly.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was trying to do a segue, but I suck. Let's just go. Army of
Segway
Darkness. Army of Darkness.
is one of the
Yay.
worst things I've ever seen. Rip off
Wow.
Monty Python.
Really?
I mean, I haven't even watched Monty Python, but that's what it reminds me of. I've seen the clips.
Okay. Look,
It's just very out of water. Also, it's like an isekai, which is pretty funny. Man out of the wrong time. It's
Yeah.
like I just thought that was goofy. That's even.
I have some mixed feelings about this movie, but one of the worst things you've ever seen?
Um, you know, it's just like a level of camp to me that goes over enjoyment, even as like a theater kid, to just being like a bit much.
Yeah. No,
I
okay,
also,
I agree with you there.
the other thing is maybe he did get worse in the second movie, like on a cat like meaner, but I kind of just felt like it had more to do with like these people not getting the situation because they are so stupid. But he
Yeah.
goes full blown asshole in this one, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of made me feel dejected because I
Yeah.
kind of liked his character, especially at the beginning, the first movie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So to me, it kind of just felt like, yeah, I don't know. It just felt so disconnected from the rest of
Yeah.
them. It kind of felt
I
like I was watching a parody of Lord of the Rings or something, except I don't think it had come out yet, or if it did, it just had. I'm not good at dates, to be
Oh
honest.
no, this was 1992, so Lord of the Rings was a good while off.
Yeah, see, that's just again probably a future thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just like the comedy didn't work for me. The dialogue felt like the worst because he
Okay,
was
hold up.
trying to be.
Hold your
Oh, sorry,
horses. Let's.
sorry. We
That's
should
okay.
pick a topic first. I'm just yapping.
Okay, let's just because you were talking about Ash so much. Let's just go into characters and acting in
Yeah.
general.
Sorry,
So
sorry.
that's okay. This I do agree with you. He's way too much of an asshole in this movie, and I got to say again, it works perfectly in the TV show because there they make him a lovable asshole, and whenever he's being a prick to someone, it's generally because he doesn't have any social awareness or he just doesn't care about people. Here, he's just being a prick, and I
Right.
think what they were trying to do, they were trying to parody, not really parody, but kind of nod to modern action heroes like really suave guys who
Yeah,
don't care
that's
about
what
your
I felt.
feelings.
And I hated that that was what they were doing. I
Yeah,
was
no,
like,
it
he
doesn't
does
work.
become like this like cowboy Clint Eastwood kind of
Yeah,
like action hero where he has like all these quips and stuff.
yeah,
And he's like super badass and everyone's scared of him. Um,
yeah.
I hate that they this is oh no, I won't talk about this yet. It has to do with the gun, but I won't talk about it because it's not characters.
Okay.
Um, so I already talked about this, but it feels way less grounded because he's such a dick. I don't
Yeah,
think it's just because of the weird setting. I think even from a character basis, this feels less and less real as we go on because he doesn't feel like a character anymore. He feels like an
mm-hmm.
action hero, but that's all he's got.
Yeah,
Like I loved it when he was just a normal guy who was dealing with
mm-hmm.
this fucked up situation, but
Yeah,
now he smarts up way too quickly. Like if he was somewhat skilled, I'd get it because he did fight off demons for like 2 days. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
The original too, but it just doesn't work for
It's
me.
actually really funny when you think that these movies take place within like 48 hours of each other. Like
Yeah,
how much he changes as a person in that time.
yeah,
You could say, I think an in-universe explanation could be because of all the stuff he's seen, he's kind of messed up in the head, and that's why he's acting so differently. But it doesn't justify it, but it's an explanation, I
yeah.
guess.
Part of me thought that it was like, yeah, no, yeah, something like that. It was just a weird choice. Um,
I
because
have
we had,
this.
sorry, no, you go.
No,
I was
that's okay.
okay. I was just gonna say like it's a weird choice because we've been following this guy for 2 movies. Like
Yeah.
it's a weird thing to do for a main character of an entire franchise. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I wanted to mention I actually read the original draft of this script a few days ago
Oh,
because it
better,
underwent it
worse.
underwent a few changes during production. Not a lot. The original script wasn't a significantly better movie, but it had some improvements, so I might mention those from time to time. But in terms of his character, there's a couple things to note. Mention this more when we get to the recap at the start of the movie as well. But he actually, in the original script, and you can actually see they filmed this, it's on YouTube, he actually starts off his monologue by basically implying he's gone insane and how everyone perceives him as insane. So it seems like they were trying to lean into that a little bit more with his character. Like how emotionally and mentally scarred he was.
He does act very like what is the word for erratic?
Yeah.
That's right. Like he does go over the place with his emotions quite a lot.
Yeah. So that makes more sense.
And like eating the grapes, it's like a mad Roman emperor kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can definitely see it. It's too bad they didn't go with that more because he just seemed. It's almost like it's a weird thing, especially because he did the recap. Kind of feels like a Rick and Morty situation a little bit, like in the fourth wall breaky kind of thing.
Yeah.
They never actually do it properly because the voiceover is just a different thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like the way he's so dejected about everything only really works if he knows nothing matters, which is not something that's like brought up to him. You know what I mean? So I was thinking.
See, like, talking about this now, I'm thinking there's so much interesting stuff they could do with his character that they did nothing with characters at all in this movie. But with his character especially, there's so much stuff they could have done.
Yeah.
Anyway, one more thing I had to note about the original script. You know, you've probably already forgotten, but you know, just after he gets his medal, his new hand, and the love interest Sheila walks in, and he's a dick to her, and then he pulls her aside and kisses her anyway.
No, I remember that because that's the most erratic thing I think he does.
Yeah. In the original script, they actually had a really romantic moment with each other where they sit down and have a full conversation, and then they kiss each other, like, mutually.
Right.
Much better for their relationship.
Yeah, the whole tacked-on love interest thing annoyed me throughout. That's something I didn't really talk about in the second, but it felt like they were trying maybe to set up something with the other girl, but it just doesn't happen. Like with the mother one. Like, sorry, that's the one who's related to all this, you know.
Yeah.
Like to the book and stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't do it, and then this one they try really hard, and then at the end they also try again. Like the girl. It's like, this is a story. Your story's kind of cute, huh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like with his character, the thing that makes him interesting or empathetic or what it was is that he's kind of sad that his girlfriend died. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, moving on from that gives him very little to work off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if he wasn't such a dick in this movie, like, him recovering from his romantic stuff kind of gives him way less motivation. Oh, that's a whole other thing with character motivation. So I guess that's the next thing I'll talk about, actually. Why does he
do that now if you want?
Unless we had something else about what we were talking about. I think
we're pretty much... No, we're just talking about Ash. It's all related.
Yeah, all related. Okay, so I don't really understand, just from a character point of view, why he's so adamant on getting home. Besides the possibility of parents and perhaps other friends, he has nothing to really go back to that we know about in the real world.
No, so in the TV show, that's his life before the movies is a bit of background is given, and he has a dad with whom he's very distant and doesn't really have that many other friends in town. So no, he doesn't have a life to go back to. And when he does go back, everyone accuses him of the murders, and he has to go on the run anyway. So.
Yeah. But it's like, obviously I could understand, even if you don't have much to go back to, a lot of people would want to go home because, you know, it's weird to be 700 years in the past. But the thing is that he doesn't have any other motivation except wanting to get home, which makes it feel really weird. Like, he doesn't want to try to stop the evil. Maybe he's dejected about it because he's already tried, but he doesn't say that. He just doesn't care. You know what I mean? That evil still exists. Like, it's ruined your life, and also you've now learned that supernatural shit exists, and you have no qualms about that. You just want to get home and live a normal life? You know what I mean? That's, like, not how any of that works. The idea of supernatural stuff existing, especially because of, like, the vaguely like Christian theologic stuff that was going on because it's in Samaria and all that kind of, you know what I mean? It's like that's like a big can of worms that you've just opened. Like it, like that's a whole that if sorry, this is really bad. Basically, it's proof or of at least some form of higher beings, even if it's not like a god level. There's like shit that no one knows exists, and you have concrete, like not concrete evidence, but you know, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't change his worldview at all, and it doesn't motivate his decisions or why he wants to get home. I just think that's annoying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's also just like because in the other ones he does try to protect his friends, and in the second one he protects people he doesn't even know. You know what I mean? But in this one, he just hates everyone, and it's not even just being a dick. He's like a time racist. I'm not going to claim people from the 1300s were like particularly bright, but they were still people. What the flip, bro? You know what I mean? Oh, I never even thought about that. So this is a tangent. They all understand each other, even though English was very different back then.
Yeah. And the dialogue is super inconsistent. Like some of them speak
sometimes it's modern,
Shakespearean
and then
English.
My lord. Yeah.
Yeah. And then other times it's just American English.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
But when it comes to the character stuff, it's just like such a shift. There's just so many things wrong with it. Like, because if he doesn't have a clear motivation, why should I care? You know what I mean? As an audience member, like, there's no emotional attachment there, and that's kind of how, like, movies work. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. Ash is a big mistake in this whole thing. What the flip happened there?
Yeah, okay. I have to see what else I've got for writing.
Oh, I mean, I have one other thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's stuff for plot and character, but this is just character, so we'll go with that for now.
Yeah, okay.
They're both writing. Ash then does care when everyone's disappointed in him that he didn't do the work, which is also weird. And you know what I mean? And I just like, where's like, if he was like forced to, like, hey, if you don't defeat these guys, we'll kill you or something, it would make a lot more sense. But it's purely emotional. But he didn't even care one bit about these people to the point where he forgot the word in the first place. You know what I mean? So no one thinks about writing that down.
It would make sense for his character the way he is in this movie. Like, in the TV show, it's pretty clear he does care about people, but also, I mean, A, he doesn't have a life anymore. His entire life is fighting Deadites. And B, he just wants to show off how cool he thinks he is.
Yeah, no, I definitely picked up on that, but it's just...
So, like, in this movie, it would make sense for him. As we know, Ash, other than this movie, he does care for people and want to protect them. So that would make sense as part of his motivation. But also, by this point in his character journey, he just wants to show off how cool he is. He's the guy who kills the demon. So it would make sense from an ego point of view that he would stay there just to show off and to protect people.
Yeah. It's a weird one. And that scene you were talking about, the cut scene with the girl, that would have helped that as well quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there was this whole thing where he was, like, trying to do that, I am very, like, powerful and all that, but really he only probably had a couple of shells. You know what I mean? I also hate that he never acknowledges that. Maybe that's clever that he never says it. Maybe it's, like, bad. I don't know. But personally, I just was like, he knows that, like, surely he knows, and the people who wrote it know that he only has a couple left, right? Like, he is bluffing. But they never really, like, indicate that he knows he's bluffing.
He keeps using his boomstick after that scene, though, so he clearly has more than just a couple shells. Again, they don't really... No
but
thought
he only goes to the car to get the shells at the end of the, like, near the end. So, like, I thought
but
he was bluffing,
but he continues using the gun anyway.
Yeah, so that was a whole thing. Like, I wish that dynamic was played with more. Because the idea of coming back in time with better tech is interesting, especially when you think about the limitations. But, like, that's, yeah. Is there anything we want to say about other characters, or they're not really much?
There aren't any other characters, really.
King Arthur is like a dick.
Yeah, I mean that's fine for him. That makes sense.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it depends what version. There's so many iterations of that legend.
Oh, I mean, like, in this movie, his character being a dick is fine.
Yeah,
And
I guess so.
he could be an interesting foil to Ash, but again, they don't work,
Yeah.
they don't do anything with character dynamics, so it goes nowhere.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. No, I guess that's it for characters then. There's like really, it's just all bad.
And they
Pretty.
also try to have this thing with Sheila, where her brother got killed by
Oh, I
Henry
forgot
the
about that.
Red's men,
Yeah,
and
but
then
then
she
that never
hates
comes
Ash
up again.
because she thinks he killed him, but then they go nowhere with that.
And then they ask for those guys' help as well, and that's
Oh
not.
god, okay, we have to talk about that because this part of the movie really annoys me. I they do nothing. Oh my god, the whole dynamic between the English group and what I'm assuming Scottish group.
Yeah, I
They
think.
don't do. They don't. That doesn't mean anything to the movie. I don't know why that's in there.
Okay, we're just gonna because that's pretty much a pretty good segue. We're gonna talk about plot now, I reckon.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll start with that, I guess. I really this is just like a pet peeve of mine because I've seen it a couple times. I really don't like when an independent franchise latches itself on to the King Arthur legends because I just think it's the cheapest mythology thing to go for, right? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's so overdone and it's like not even that interesting really. That whenever anything does it, I'm just like, okay, you wanted this to have extra meaning, huh? Or like
Mm-hmm.
extra oomph, you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think that yeah, that's the same thing here. Is that there's no reason that they're King Arthur. It could be any group. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, I don't know much about the original legend, but I'm pretty sure the point of King Arthur stuff is to unite England, not
Mm-hmm.
fight the Scots. But
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? That's like a whole
Yeah.
other war much later on. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Now,
So,
from a narrative point of view, having Henry the Red and his crew, like I said, does nothing for the story. So I know they join in right at the end of the final battle and they help them win the day, but no conflict has been resolved, really. We're told they hate each other, and now they don't. And we're not even
yeah,
shown why they get over their differences. It's just
yeah,
everything in this movie. The problem is, if you want to do, like those first two movies, the writing wasn't that significant because it's a really simple story. It's some kids in a cabin and some shit goes down for 90 minutes, and that's fine. But here, they're trying to do a huge, like, social political conflict between two rival kingdoms, and there's an army of demons trying to kill them, and they have to protect the book, and they have to get this guy back home. Like, it's a huge story. And the
yeah,
problem with this is, if you're going to give me so much stuff to chew on, like, you have to build on it. If you want to do a
yeah,
simple movie, do a simple story. Don't try and load so much stuff onto it.
yeah. Definitely, definitely.
Like,
Uh,
in the. Sorry.
no, I was just like, there's. I just 100% agree. There's
Yeah.
nothing to say.
In the original script, it doesn't fix the problem, but we're actually shown in a really quick insert scene, which would have felt like it was just slapped in anyway, even if they did film it, where Ash goes up to Henry the Red and says, "Hey man, we're fighting this army now, we could really use your help." And then Henry says, "I'll think about it." So when he shows up later, at least they've built up to it, but again, they haven't done anything to work through their
Issues.
conflict. It just finishes. We didn't need that.
Yeah, it's just very unnecessary.
There could have been a really interesting story with Ash having to work, like running between these two kingdoms and dealing with the different problems they were having and
Yeah,
helping them with the
well, they're on a
demons or
timeline.
something
You
like
expand,
that.
yeah, like if you expand it out from they're 2 days out, you say they're a week out. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
he's gonna like scrounge everything together.
yeah,
Like that would
yeah,
be interesting. But no, it's actually like it takes 2 seconds and a really shit speech for him to
yeah,
rouse people to come to his side.
yeah,
Like I thought the joke was gonna be that fucking falls on its face and no one helps him. But then he's like, "Yeah, well, if you don't try, everyone dies." And then they're like, "Fine, mate." But the fact that
yeah,
they actually celebrate him after he fucks up the book and everyone knows that, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's just that was stupid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That totally because they wanted him to be an action hero person, but
And
also
see,
do
the
this
thing is,
comedy.
if if this was a really strong lesson for his character, like he starts off as a dickhead, and then his ego gets in the way, and he almost gets all these people killed, and then he learns maybe I shouldn't be like that. That's fine. That's a character journey, but he's still a dickhead. He's just a slightly more likable dickhead by the end of the movie.
Yeah. Uh. Um. So.
I gotta say,
Oh, yeah.
I
Sorry,
oh,
you go.
sorry, you want to go? I just noticed there was a lot of pacing issues with this movie. It's really short. It's too short for what it's going for. Like 90 minutes. It's not even
Yeah.
90 minutes. Like 80 minutes
The
is
funny thing,
not enough.
yeah, it is 80 minutes on the dot. The other thing is, it also to me felt very long because it was painful to sit through.
Yes.
But no, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to do this thematically, I feel like that's kind of actually why it reminds me of Lord of the Rings. I don't know why, because it's like super long and everyone thing is fleshed out and stuff. Even that whole
Yeah.
thing where like an army comes out at the end and like helps them on the other side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you know what scene I'm talking about, you know what I mean? And it's
I
just like,
yeah.
I don't know. You're definitely right. Like, they could expand everything out in this movie, every dynamic, Ash's character, the different kingdoms, like this whole weird religious aspect they have to where he's apparently the chosen one or something.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? There's so much going on, and they could
Yeah.
expand on every piece, but they don't
What it
expand on anything.
One example of the really bad pacing is that we have the fight scene with him and the Deadite in the pit, and then he comes out and gives his speech. And then in the very next scene, there's another fight scene with another Deadite that comes out of nowhere. Like, the movie doesn't give us a breather between the action scenes. It's just back to back, and then a whole bunch of nothing.
From what I know about fantasy stuff, a lot of the time, like the talk, like the in between fight scenes and talking stuff, is where a lot of like the story's heavy lifting happens. If you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like fantasy things really need like a little bit of time to sit down every now and then. Otherwise, it gets way too much. And I
Yeah.
don't think they knew that. Obviously.
No. But you say story. What story?
Yeah, I know, but in an ideal version of this
Yeah,
movie,
I know what you mean.
there would be a point where they sit down and talk about things for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, they mention... It's actually really weird. They mention the Deadites have been around and doing stuff for ages now. But... Oh, God. I don't know what that's meant to mean for the world. Hold on. I need to try... I don't know if you know what I'm trying to get at, but... The Deadites are already around when Ash brings up the Army of Darkness.
yeah.
Do you kind of get what I'm saying? I don't...
Yeah, like, what
How
does
is
that
this
mean?
for
Yeah,
the
what does that mean for
world?
the entire world? Yeah, and like that's the other thing as well is like how well, obviously the King Arthur thing isn't real, but let's just pretend for a second. Like, how does this affect history at all? Is it supposed to be
Yeah.
our world or an alternate world? You know what I mean? I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how much
I
did them
just...
being around affect things and stuff?
Yeah.
They also
I
don't
just...
talk. Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. You go.
I was gonna say this is just about like the whole setting, which I think would be something to talk. No, I feel like actually there might be some more things to talk about with the main story and not the setting.
Okay.
So,
I
sorry,
was
that's
just going to say, with
but it is very
simplifying
good.
the story, can you imagine how much better it would have been if Ash just landed in a small isolated medieval village, and there are Deadites attacking the village? So we don't need these huge kingdoms with what's meant to be hundreds and hundreds of people, just like a few dozen, and we don't need the two
Yeah,
feuding kingdoms. Just like a 90-minute movie, Deadites are attacking a village, a medieval village, and he has to help them with as few resources as he
yeah,
can, as he can find. Like something like that is fine.
definitely. Yeah, it was a very confusing choice to add all that stuff together. I don't
Yeah.
know. So the little demons that then become the main villain, come out of
Oh
nowhere.
my god.
He goes into a random house on his way to the graveyard.
Yeah.
Um, looks at a mirror, smashes it because I think it's supposed to insinuate he doesn't even know what he looks like anymore, and he's super paranoid. You know what I mean?
It's because in the first two movies
Oh
there was
right,
weird
yeah,
stuff
no,
with
that as
mirrors.
well. I forgot about that. But then he does use it to look at himself for like 1 second. So I think we're both right, but I forgot about the glass thing in the other movie too. But so it's random. It's not planned as far as we know. Who was leading the demons before that? It doesn't matter. They're really annoying. That was my least favorite attempt at comedy.
I know.
Was that scene?
I've said this is like the third or fourth time I've seen this movie, and I actually skipped it for this watch because I just can't stand it.
Yeah,
I cannot stand
it's really cringy and just like unfunny. It's like everything that is like good and lighthearted about like an old Looney Tunes, but like in this horror setting.
Yeah.
And that's another thing as well, because they were being like trying to be funny, they don't actually put a lot of effects on Ash. Like there's a lot of makeup and, you know, like gross looking shit on the demons, but he gets hurt a lot, but you can't really tell. They just put like dust on his face. It's like lame.
They were with this movie, so Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell loved the Three Stooges, and those were like Three Stooges remakes were the stuff they made before the Evil Dead series. So this movie, they went all in on the Three Stooges stuff, and if you've ever seen a Three Stooges skit, like, you'd know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I have not, but it seems very heavy on like physical comedy, slapstick.
Yeah, that's the Three Stooges, like, and
like
it does not
someone
work
being an
at
idiot.
all.
Yeah, because the demons aren't just like annoying; they're also like really, they're just, ugh.
Now, I have to mention this because this is insane, but I don't know how I know this, but in the Japanese version of this movie, the scene with the mini ashes is almost twice the length.
Oh my god. That's really sad.
Like poor Japanese, man. Why'd they get that short end of the stick?
Why would they even bother? I wonder how that even happened. That's really weird.
I think I don't know, this seems to be a thing in the music industry especially, but in Japan they seem to get a lot of bonus stuff in their media. And I think I've read somewhere it has something to do with how much more expensive that sort of stuff is over there, but I don't know. I'm no expert.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I just hate that becomes so important to the main story, that like this is the thing that's like in charge and this is our big bad to fight. It comes out of nowhere. Also, and now I know you were saying the ending insinuates a fourth that never happened, but the fact that we never get to fight the actual big bad, like the presence of all this evil, is annoying. You know what I mean? Like it feels low stakes, and because this character is so annoying, I don't care as much about what's going to happen.
What, the evil Ash?
The evil Ash, yeah. Also, if I remember correctly, his death's not even like particularly satisfying.
No, he gets burned, and then he's a skeleton, and then he's launched off a catapult with a bomb, and then he explodes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was for those that don't know. That's when I had a lot of technical difficulties. Was in the very end of this movie.
But so you missed that little bit?
I think so, but it really.
Okay. Yeah, you weren't missing much.
Yeah.
But the one thing that really bugged me about Evil Ash, not only that he came out of nowhere, just a side note, what if they had Ash's hand from the second movie come back with him and it grew into another Ash?
That would be really cool. Oh my god. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But sidestepping that, it's annoying to me that Bruce Campbell played Evil Ash. Like, that's him under all the makeup, but he doesn't act like Ash. And again, if we did that character journey, like a thing where he was fighting between him being an arsehole and being the sympathetic Ash we knew in the first movie, that could be like a visual metaphor for how he's a split character. He says, like,
you're a goody two-shoes, but in this movie he hasn't been.
He's
and then
not.
He proves that by saying, yeah, I'm the guy with the gun. Which is terrifying for a white guy to say, by the way, historically. You know what I mean? Oh.
But like, Evil Ash doesn't really even act like Ash. Like,
yeah,
and that's like a little missed opportunity.
The only thing he does is be really weird with a girl, which is normal. Ash does that too.
Yep.
You know. Oh, that's right as well. There's like scenes where it was like yeah, where he gets cut up and stuff, and they don't show any of that. Like, they did not go into the gore that much on this one. And I know I was
No.
complaining about the gore earlier, but if it was such a consistent thing, it's weird that they stopped doing it.
Yeah, I know. And like the Deadites are all skeletons too. I know they were. I think
Well,
they
look, the
were.
skeletons look really cool, but yeah,
Yeah,
it is a bit of a weird switch up. You know what I mean?
they were. I think the reason they switched to skeletons was that they were trying to harp on old stop motion movies from I think it was like the
Yeah,
40s,
I
30s or
can see
40s,
that.
like
I
by
did
a
really
guy
like
called Ray
a lot of
Harryhausen.
a lot of their movements. Like that,
Yeah,
that's one of the only good things I can say about the film is that that looked really good.
yeah.
I like, yeah, it was
But
cool.
like I
Too
I
bad
don't
by
know
then I was so
why.
bored of the movie that I didn't care. But
Yeah, I don't know why we couldn't have a few more Deadites like possessing. Could you imagine like that fight scene could have been that battle could have been a bit more intense if the
if
people on the inside are being possessed during the
yeah,
fight?
yeah, that'd be cool. The thing is, I feel like they kind of depower all of them in that fight
Yeah,
because they shouldn't really lose realistically.
no.
Yeah, like we saw how powerful they were by themselves, like with just a couple. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I guess the skeletons are maybe insinuated to be less powerful. I don't know, but still,
Yeah.
it's like a whole thing.
Uh,
Um,
I have what have I got? I have to mention about the writing. We've already spoken about pacing, but it's really weird. The climax of this movie comes in at hour one. Like within an hour, we're up to the third act already. Like it's crazy.
mm. Yeah, it's actually kind of weird now that you mention it because it's like the first film has like pretty good pacing. The second one, at least to me, I know this is not for you, but I think it's very like goes on for a while and there's not much going on. It's kind
Yeah.
of boring throughout.
But at
And like,
least you get in. At least the second movie, you get into the action, and
yeah,
there's something happening. In the first movie, and the third movie, sorry, you're just spinning your
yeah.
wheels until we get to the
But
final fight.
what I was gonna say is this one feels like it actually could have been much longer if it was good.
Yeah,
I need to preface
yeah,
that. I wouldn't want a longer version of what we have. I'll say
no,
that. Oh, so I was just going to talk about the setting for a second, like the fact that they time travel,
yeah,
maybe. Well, look, here's the thing. In the original movie, they say that the people from the 1300s stopped it.
yeah,
And then apparently, when they played the recording, that made the book go crazy, which makes you question how did he say record that without the book going crazy, unless he put it somewhere else? You know what I mean?
Well, so the yeah. Again, don't think about it. But after he read that passage, his wife got possessed, and he was presumably
Oh,
killed.
yeah, no, yeah, okay, that makes a bit more
But
sense.
yeah, you're right. By the time they arrive at the cabin, everything should already be going nuts because they've already been summoned.
Mm. But then it's like, so when he went back in time in the 1300s, is that what they were referring to, or is it not really back in time?
Yeah,
When we
yeah, that's
first
what they meant.
started with the okay. Because when we
Yeah,
first
no,
went into the vortex, I thought it wasn't going to be like, oh, time travel. I thought it was going to be, okay, so these people sacrificed themselves and are trapped now because of that.
mm-hmm.
Like I thought, and I think that would be more interesting personally. Like that this is some kind of realm that they ended up in because they stopped things and everything is frozen in that.
Yeah. I mean that would also justify why we have an English kingdom in the middle of the desert
Yeah.
with Scots.
Oh, that's something I was gonna say. At the beginning, like when it's really bright, it legit looks like a classic Doctor Who thing, like set because it's like we're in a quarry. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
And, I will say the one. This is just a little side note, but there's barely anything to talk about besides the story, so I'm just gonna say it. I liked the graveyard set. That was cool. Every other set looks kind of trash, but
yeah.
whatever.
Oh, speaking of the
Yeah.
graveyard, the scene with the three books is just more crappy wheel spinning.
Yeah.
I didn't need to mention that.
Don't even know why that it doesn't make sense within like the contextually it
No.
wasn't funny or interesting. It just I thought what would be, I don't know, more interesting is like, I don't know, something where it was just, I don't know, maybe he grabs the wrong one, or there's some kind of toll for taking all three because you have to be sure. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Or something.
Yeah.
Like if it was a serious plot point, that could have been something, but it's thrown
Yeah.
in for laughs and then it doesn't matter and then it was inconsequential.
It could have been a thing where, so a big inconsistency in the franchise is how many books there are, because in Evil Dead 1 they burn the book, and then in the TV show he has another copy of the book and we don't know where that came from. So it could have been a thing where, by if you pick up the wrong book or something, you activate it, so you're putting more Necronomicons out there.
Yeah, yeah. That could work. Just like anything, because that was like really filler.
Yeah. I mean, the first hour of this movie was filler.
Pretty much. Is there anything still worth talking about? in the
I feel, I don't
story?
know, I don't know if it's that important, but I have to mention the opening of the movie in the original script. Instead of him being immediately chained up, there was actually a chase scene on horseback where he's fighting guys with his chainsaw, like sword to chainsaw, which would have been pretty cool, but they obviously didn't have enough money for it.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
I'm just gonna lump in cinematography in
Not a
here.
lot to say here.
Sorry. What I meant to say was that I'm gonna lump in cinematography and the score because there's not much to say
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, it's cool.
There are still some interesting shots, like when he's building the his new suit and
Yeah,
stuff. Most of it's really boring and not
yeah.
particularly inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the score, generic fantasy hero music whenever
Yeah.
he's doing a good thing, and that's it.
I think the only interesting part of the score is the main theme.
I didn't even realize there was
I
a main
thought
theme.
it plays over the opening credits and when the Army of Darkness
Oh,
comes in. And I think it's pretty decent, but it's the only one that stands out to me.
right, yeah, so not much to really say there. I already kind of talked about this. Oh, wait, no, there is one thing about
Yeah.
horror. For some reason, even though it's toned down for 99% of the movie, near the beginning, a guy just turns into a blood volcano.
Yeah.
Which is weird because the rest of the movie doesn't have any of that, but they throw you in the deep end. That
Yeah, I
would
know.
that would
I,
normally be
I
near
don't
the
know.
end of one of the movies, but it's actually at the beginning and then they don't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very strange. There's one joke I liked in the whole movie, and I think
Yeah.
it's because I've seen it clipped outside of context. Um, it's an N word. It's definitely a N word. You know what I mean? I just like the implication, obviously, because I don't know if that was on purpose. It probably was. It's not a very smart.
Where...
So he's trying to think of what the word is, like for the phrase. He
Oh.
knows it's an N, and it's just funny because of a very different word.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
but
yeah, okay.
it's still pretty cheap humor, I'm just gonna say, but like, it was
Yeah.
kind of funny. You know what I mean? Just because
Uh,
of the
the...
implication.
Yeah. The one joke in this movie that really worked for me was when King Arthur pulled the sword out of a
Oh,
sheath and he
and
kicked the
yeah,
guy
yeah,
back. That
that's
was...
also good. Everything else was like bad dialogue or bad slapstick.
Yeah.
But there's also that one near like when they're fighting where he's like everyone's like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and then Ash hits Arthur and he's like, "Fuck you doing?"
Yeah.
That
Oh, you actually reminded me of something. It would have been funny if during that scene where he's training everyone, where he's teaching everyone total crap because he doesn't know what he's doing, but
yeah.
during that scene, it's shown that he's actually pretty competent at teaching them, even though
Which
the
is
moves are stupid.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Also,
would have been
they
funny.
invent gunpowder. I don't know when gunpowder was invented in real life, so that might not actually be
Yeah,
that.
it was. I think that was like third or or fifth century. It was ages before
Okay.
then.
Yeah, so I guess it's not that crazy, but yeah, Physics 101 really teaches you how to
Make
make gunpowder.
gunpowder.
Yeah. uh,
Um. So what are we basically done?
um, I think so. I mean, I
Oh,
think I've
that's
got some
crazy.
miscellaneous
It's a,
things.
it's a personal best.
The outfits look a lot better than the ones at the end of two. I said
Yeah.
how bad the night outfits look. I thought, like, I think obviously the set doesn't look great, but when we're talking about like costumes and the extras and stuff, I thought they did a decent job. I think they went over the top with some people's hairstyles. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, they didn't have like hairdressers, but like it was a bit much at times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate the robot hand. They gloss over it and it doesn't make sense. Like, do you know how
No.
sophisticated like actually being able to move a prosthetic limb is? Like, we only just did it like 5 years ago, I swear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It
Like it
wasn't even
wasn't even a
fully
thing when he rode it.
necessary.
And it also wasn't needed. He could have kept the chainsaw arm. It was
Yeah.
cool.
See,
Uh,
like, that's really disappointing. It doesn't even use the chainsaw arm in this movie, really.
yeah, yeah. Wait, does he really use the hand for very much?
I mean, he uses it to pick stuff up, but
But like,
no, not really.
he doesn't bash anyone with it. You know,
It
he
could have
actually
been.
goes. I just remembered he actually goes back to using a sword. I think he steals art. No, no,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he
he steals
does.
someone. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why not? Why not?
He's
If you're
just
gonna have the
painful.
movie be as ridiculous as it is, why not
Yeah,
have him dual wielding the chainsaw and a sword, like for the
yeah,
final fight? Like, just
that would
go all
be.
the way.
I mean, especially because they like give him back the chainsaw like two different times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then it doesn't come back at the end. You know.
Yeah.
Um. So this is like really juvenile and stupid, but I swear to you, it's like minute 27 and then some second when he's riding on the horse and running away. I
Hmm.
swear to God, it's like just a bunch of random noises he's making because he's like, but he actually says Hawk Tour. I'm not kidding. Anyone the few people that might
Uh.
actually watch this,
Uh.
go to that scene. I swear to God, I'm
Uh.
not joking. I'm not joking. It was probably the funniest part of the movie, actually, just because my
You.
brain is dead.
You have instantly devalued our podcast by saying that. Thanks a lot.
Don't you want to be on the Talk to a podcast, bro? Like,
Uh.
get so many. We could become the next Talk to a girl. Okay.
I. I felt my soul leave my body out of cringe.
Uh. Oh right. In my notes here, I've got this is a general overview of the whole movie. It's like
Yeah.
The Mask if it was shit. Like,
Uh.
actually, yeah, it's like The Mask 2. There you go. It's like The Mask 2,
Oh
guys.
my god. What you mean?
Like
In
with the
what
shitty
way?
slapstick comedy,
Oh.
and
Okay.
like the dickhead protagonist. It's like I can't remember his name. I know you like him, but it's like the main actor
Bruce
in this
Campbell.
movie. Yeah, it's like he's not Jim Carrey though. Maybe Jim Carrey could have done that one. Um,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? I don't know. But that's just like that's how I felt about all the comedy. It's like anything that the mask does well, this fucked up. Especially when he's
Yeah.
rearranging his face and he looks stupid.
Oh my. Yeah.
That's what made
That's.
me write
Oh,
that
why?
because it's so dumb and it's
It's
actually
like the
something that happened.
movies. Even. Even the transition from the seriousness of Evil Dead 1 to the more slapstick elements of Evil Dead 2 aren't that far fetched. It's not that
Yeah,
hard to believe that's the same universe. But when you go from that to him literally contorting his face like a cartoon character, like, why? What? Ugh. See, that's
yeah,
why it would make more sense, your idea, this taking place in a different universe, like a pocket dimension or something, where you
yeah,
can bend the rules of reality. But I don't know. It really irks me. I feel
yeah,
like I should. I feel like I should. I feel like you probably do for the first two movies. This movie isn't as highly regarded as the other two, obviously, but it still seems pretty popular in the fandom, and I feel like I should enjoy it more. But I just have so many problems with it, I can't get into it, and
yeah,
every time I watch it, I dislike it more and more.
yeah. You see, that's the thing. I feel like with the first one, I have to like try a bit hard, like try to be like, oh, it's still good though. I just don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh, And then with the second one, it's like, yeah, like I can understand why people respect them to a certain point. Still don't get why they're as liked as they are. But with the third one, I feel like I don't have to justify why it's terrible.
no,
You know what I mean? It's
no,
just like it. Also, I feel like some of the editing was choppy as well. Like it kind of sometimes felt like a shit post, but like
yeah.
the whole
It
movie.
This whole movie felt like I think Universal was meddling a bit, and they didn't have the budget they wanted, but it really did feel like a movie that had been like really butchered,
Yeah.
like in
You know,
pre-production. Like it was incomplete.
have you ever heard of like scary movie and like superhero movie, like those movies?
Yeah,
It's like kind of like that, but like when they started making really bad ones, because you know they did like one good one in Scary Movie, and then they kept
yeah,
fucking forever. That's kind of what
yeah,
the vibe is of this movie, because it's really disingenuous and not funny. And they
yeah.
and they try. It's like a parody of itself, kind of, but also
Yeah.
all action movies. You know what I mean?
I don't
Yeah.
understand what I know I understand they really like the Three Stooges and they find that sort of slapstick comedy hilarious, but they tempered themselves enough in Evil Dead 2 where it's not so over the top. You can still gel with it. Like in this movie, all you have is slapstick horror. Like it's not horror, slapstick comedy. But
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
Like you have to restrain yourself a little bit because you have to understand comedy is very subjective, especially something like this.
Yeah, that's one thing as well. I've learnt of a new style of comedy that I hate, and it's called dark comedy. That's what this is called. Not dark, sorry, black comedy, as in like dark, but it's not like dark comedy as in edgy. So that's a weird one.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it unless there's better ones than this. I don't know. There might
What?
be.
Well, Army of Darkness is a black comedy.
That's what it said on Wikipedia, but it's Wikipedia.
Okay.
I
Uh,
don't.
I don't know. That doesn't sound quite right.
I mean, like, I think in theory it would be if they didn't tone down the horror so much.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
God forgive me, but I am questioning Wikipedia on this one.
Well, here's the thing that they never say, which is really off topic. Every subdivision and like, oh, this is in this genre of anything. It's all made up. It's all based on vibes. There is nothing you can do about it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what is it? Categories
It's
aren't real.
I know. It's like Netflix, especially
Yeah,
calling movies
Netflix.
cerebral. Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean a movie is cerebral? What it makes you? It has some smart stuff in it.
The
It's
weirdest
deep.
thing is when they call something an irrelevant comedy.
Oh,
What is that?
irreverent?
I think it, unless I was misreading
No,
it.
you mean irreverent.
Oh, okay, fuck. Well, never mind then. Okay, let's go through the last little miscellaneous things, I guess, before I
Yeah.
say something stupid again. Near the end, there's like another one of those flying creatures, and they do a wide shot where its wings look really funny
Mhm.
because it's so obviously like the same animation cycle tracked on, but it's like it must be like only a couple frames or something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because it looks really bad. I don't know if you because this is one scene, so you probably don't remember.
No,
But
look,
yeah,
the
it's like
problem
it's when
with
the girl gets
doing
kidnapped. It looks really bad.
yeah.
Wide
Look,
shot.
the problem with doing a marathon like I did is by the third movie I was fried.
Yeah. It's
It's,
weird because I watched the third one on a totally different night, but it still fried me.
yeah,
It was like that fry. I don't
yeah.
know. I already talked about the skeleton army. What else? Oh, so one scene during it's like when the evil Ash and the army are becoming a thing, and the girl gets turned evil and whatever.
Yeah.
One slave girl randomly has her tit out, for no reason. And I'm like,
I
thank
do
you,
not.
Sam Raimi. It's one
I do.
frame, or like
I,
brief.
I do not remember this.
She just walks past the screen. Um, I don't know why.
Okay.
And I just thought that was like something worth mentioning because you
We.
end up that takes extra effort. Like unless they weren't in an acting, unless the actor wasn't in part of a union, because
Yeah.
which might, yeah. So
We
it's very
probably
random.
also should
So
have
two
mentioned as
seconds. Yeah. Sorry.
yeah. As part of the writing, we also probably should have mentioned her being possessed doesn't accomplish anything either, especially
Oh,
because they don't have a relationship.
like at all. It really doesn't matter. It felt very tacked on.
Yeah, like, and then she gets shot, doesn't she? And then
I
she's
don't,
just fine.
I don't even know, bro. Well, I
I'm
mean,
pretty
he was
sure.
just fine after turning into one, so I guess who cares?
Yeah, because I'm
You
pretty
know?
sure he says something like, "You got real ugly, baby,"
Yeah,
or something like that, and then he
yeah,
shoots her.
something like that. Yeah,
I don't know. If you injure someone as a deadite, they're still going to be possessed unless even if you kill them. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, well, he should be dead because it makes no sense that you could turn into one of them sometimes. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, you could argue he was possessed, but, like, nothing changed for him to... Like, it doesn't matter. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh my god, I just realized, with him being possessed in the second movie, you could use that to explain maybe why he had an evil twin, like the evil inside him was being excised through the hand or something like that.
Yeah, and then it's, like, all amplified if we did the pocket dimension thing, which I
Yeah.
still think would be cooler. It's also just adding time travel to this is really confusing as well, if you think about it.
Yeah.
But then also, like, the reason I thought it was isolated is how would everyone else not know that this is happening? You know what I mean? Oh, okay, one more thing about story that we completely missed is that the book is just hanging out in a graveyard and no one else has collected it before. I know it's supposed to be hard, but there's no, like, lore where it's like, this is the temple where it was written, blah, blah, blah. It's in the graveyard.
But it isn't that hard for him to collect. He
It's not
doesn't
really.
encounter really any challenges. And the
But,
only
like,
challenges he does face are being poked in the face by some skeletons because he stuffed up the incantation.
Yeah. Oh, that scene was so shit as well. When the slapstick of the skeleton just, like, putting his fingers in his mouth and poking his balls. I'm just like, whatever. It's just like, I think a problem is a lot of the time slapstick comedy is normally in, like, juvenile stuff, but, like, as in actually for kids.
Yeah.
So when it's in something that has such serious tones at times, it feels really off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, the book just being there randomly makes not much sense and kind of seems another thing where you're writing something and you're like, oh, so I need to get him to get to the book. So how do I make that journey happen? Oh, it's in a graveyard. Perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Is that it? Because I have no more notes. I think that might be it.
Okay.
Wait, we gotta talk about the cancelled thing, like the fourth or the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, the ending of the movie you saw was actually changed by the studio, Universal. So, initially, I think it's on my copy of the DVD. You can probably Google it if you're interested, but I doubt you are. In the original ending, he stuffs up an incantation to get... Oh, no. Sorry. He gets distracted and he puts too many drops of the potion onto his tongue. So he oversleeps, and when he wakes up, he's in a post-apocalyptic future. So the fourth movie was meant to be Ash in the future, like Mad Max style, fighting Deadites.
Right,
but then the studio said, that ending is too depressing, so then they threw together the ending you saw.
It's still kind of depressing when you think about how pointless his life is, and no matter what does,
it's actually,
always have to fight
they make
Dead.
a joke of it in the pilot of the TV show. It's explained that he spends the next 20 years of his life traveling around the US working at the same shopping center, like the same shop franchise,
right,
fighting dead and just protecting the book, and that's his whole life.
Yeah. So why wasn't a fourth one made? Does this one make, like, no money?
Okay, the problem with this one was, as you would notice, it didn't have Evil Dead in the name. So
yeah. I thought it was the Army of the Dead or something, but
Army of Darkness.
But it's Army of Darkness.
So initially, Sam Raimi wanted to call it the Medieval Dead, which is actually a really cool title.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. What? Oh, okay.
And then the studio said, no, that is stupid title. So then they said, just call it Army of Darkness. And then, of course, everyone who liked the first two movies didn't know it was an Evil Dead movie, so no one watched it. I don't know how it went in the box office, but obviously not well enough for a fourth one.
Right. That's really stupid, because that's a funny title, and it's also clever, and it's like, it's perfect. It describes the movie as well. Army of Darkness does not really describe anything about it.
No.
The army's not even important till the end.
No. So, again, studios being stupid, as always.
I can't believe this guy made the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Except I can, because the awkward dialogue is, like, it comes off way better in the Spider-Man, because he's such a goofball.
Yeah.
But, I don't... What the fuck? So I just
That's
sorry.
actually funny. Like, it makes sense he made the Spider-Man movies because it gets really bad by the third one.
You take that back. It's a perfect movie.
Whoa. Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
No, I'm
I'm
not
kidding.
sorry.
I'm
I'm not
kidding.
sorry.
It's just I really like that movie because well, maybe I'll hate it if I rewatch it, but I like how goofy
Oh,
it just doesn't matter.
that
Like it's
sounds like future episode potential, Mitchell.
perhaps I won't. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
No, I gotta say, before we do our ratings, you thought I wasn't gonna do it. My Doctor Who link of the episode,
Oh my God, do it. Let's hear it.
the first Necronomicon is bigger on the inside.
Oh! Oh my God! What's that speech when the 12th Doctor does it? My entire conception of space and time has been altered.
Non-Euclidean geometry.
Yeah. That's really funny. Um,
Yeah.
okay, rating time, I guess. Oh my.
You go first.
So I'm gonna have to split my ratings into two pieces each because I can't justify it
Okay.
away because I don't want to piss everyone off.
Okay.
I'm gonna split it into actual movie and like all of the good parts, like the cinematography and makeup effect.
Okay.
So for the first one, I don't know. I guess I'd have to give it like a 9 for cinematography and all the different effects. Like it's done really well. But for the overall movie, it feels weird because I know you're not supposed to think about your other scores when you're scoring something. But I'm thinking about how if I give this a low enough score, I'll say that like Willy Wonka was better. Uh, uh, I feel like I can only really justify a 7 or a 6.5.
Okay.
No, no, fuck, no, no, no. There's enough interesting stuff
Oh.
with that one. I'll give it a 7. I'll
Okay.
give it a 7. Second one definitely gets like a 6 though. I think
Okay.
maybe even a 5.5. Like, and I'm not going to do the count for that one because it's just worse in every way, really, with
Yeah.
everything.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know, 5.5. It's just because it's like it goes up like there's a whole lot of nothing through the middle of it. I would just say, and that really killed me. So that makes the third one. I'm not even going to be nice. I'm not even going to try. It's a 3. It's a
Okay.
3. I was thinking about saying 4, but like no.
All right. I'm very, very different, man. So the Evil Dead, I'm gonna give a 90%. Evil Dead 2, oh my god, 85, and Army of Darkness a 40.
Okay.
Okay.
I just feel
What?
clinically insane that like everyone or the majority of reviewers liked these a lot, including you, because I
Mm-hmm.
respect your opinion a lot. That's just
I feel
weird.
like, again, I think it's because you haven't had a lot of exposure to older horror movies, especially. It's kind of not really in your ballpark.
Yeah, probably that would make sense. I haven't really watched much old stuff of anything, let alone horror, so I would say that's probably accurate.
Look, like I have two different mindsets when it comes to movies. I have two different lists. How do I describe this? Like I'll either accept more lowbrow stuff and I'll still really enjoy it, or I think calling these movies lowbrow is a bit unfair, but you know what I mean. And then there's more artsy stuff I appreciate at the same time. Like I can split my mind across those, if you
Yeah,
know what I mean. I
I
feel like you're kind of dead set on just one mindset.
yeah probably. I guess you're probably right. I always think about the writing of things like way
Yeah.
too. Um, just because I think I'd be the best writer of all time, but I will never do anything. That kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Where it's just like I don't know. It's just really easy to see when people do things, and when I think they do it poorly, it sticks out way too much for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, is that's everything? I guess I've got to recommend
Yep.
it thing.
Yep.
Um,
What are you gonna
so
torture us with next time?
I'm not gonna lie, guys. I had like not put any thought into this at all. So we're gonna go with a short series, which is really just like a long movie, but it's called Vampire in the Garden. It's an anime. God kill me, for saying
Oh
anime.
my god, anime dweeb confirmed.
It's actually Weeb.
Oh no! I scratched the
Wow.
record. I didn't say that.
Anyway, except now, what is it? Culturally, anime is somewhat cool now, or
Yeah.
something. Whatever. You know. But then it's also still really lame. But that's a whole
Yeah.
lot. But yeah, that's what we're gonna go with, guys. It's pretty
All
good.
right. Cool.
Netflix. We're gonna watch it. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless it's
Thanks for
cut,
not.
then can I rewatch it?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thanks for not making it to the end. I know by our analytics, maybe one person has made it through here, and you know who you are, T-Dog. Okay, please let this hell end. Goodbye.
Toodaloo.